Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the 9% Show. I am your host, Steven Burton. And here at the 9%, we keep everything 100. If I haven't done it, not doing it, or not about to do it, it will not come out of my mouth. So welcome to another episode. As always, our tradition here, or the tradition I'm starting, is we go take a nice toast to the 9%. And for those that has aspiration to get into the 9% club, cheers to you. I got my scotch and ginger ale, as always. Ooh, all right now. I'm ready to go. And today we are talking about how I had over 2,000 orders in my first year without a social media following. That's right, without it. I didn't have, I might have had one follower and it was me. But I see a lot of stuff nowadays, and I feel like entrepreneurs and people that has aspirations to start a brand new business, you might get discouraged because you really think that you need a big online following to make sales, or you need to be a great content creator, or you need to be like an expert in your space where you're doing more than just selling your product or selling your service. You're also like teaching in class, or you're also doing, all type of stuff where you become that overall expert. And all that stuff is great. I'm not knocking any of that stuff at all. A lot of it probably works for a lot of people. But for me, that wasn't a route that I could go or did go. But I had the route of, I need to make these sales ASAP, and that's what I did. So just to put everything in full context, with Perfect Tux in the first year, I started Perfect Tux out of the blue for everybody that knew me. So I had a social media following, but my whole social media following, my whole online imprint actually had a lot to do with the music industry. I was an artist. Then I had a licensing and publishing company. I was one of the last things I did before I launched Perfect Tux is I was producing a girl group. And so everything that people knew me for at that moment, from friends and family and just anybody that was connected to my social media accounts, was for music, right? So when I launched Perfect Tux, I am not a fashion expert. I am not a formal wear expert. It was completely out of the blue for a lot of people. Like literally I had to say, hey, I just launched this company, Perfect Tux, and I know y'all might be asking, what do I know about this? But XYZ, like that was like literally my pitch to my friends and family, like, cause it was like really, like off the wall, like super random. So when I launched Perfect Tux, like literally the Perfect Tux handle had, one following me. My personal social media accounts was straight scratch. Like it was just like, it's like, me just all of a sudden coming up with like, I'm making wigs and like, I don't know how to sew a wig together. And then all of a sudden people go buy it just because I posted on my thing. Like it was like, so I had no foundation with what I was doing. So when I tell you I started from scratch, it was from scratch. Versus now of like, for example, with this 9% show, my social media following, already had everything to do with being an entrepreneur. Everybody knows me as an entrepreneur. Everybody knows me as a business owner. So it was a lot easier to like launch the 9% show and use our social media to do that. And then also, being a podcast or a show that's driven by social media, we had to be strategic with social media. It just is what it is. But that's what we're selling here. We're like, we couldn't do without with the 9% show. But for Perfect Tux, and you might have a product and service out there, how do you make sales without that following? Okay. Now I will say, for the good side of social media, and what could have helped in that first year was the fact of like, we were brand new and we didn't have that brand recognition. We didn't have any type of loyalty. We didn't have any trust with our customer. We didn't have any online footprint, no online digital, anything about for Perfect Tux. So I will say that for any business, you should have some type of online presence. You should have some type of social media presence. It's something you should do, whether you're e-commerce or you're like a brick and mortar. Obviously, Perfect Tux is the e-commerce, so I'll be speaking of it from that space. But beyond that, the things I've had a love and hate relationship with social media for Perfect Tux, mainly because like I can't really pinpoint content that we created that equal out to sales. Now, have we gotten those things? I'm sure we have had some sales from that. I know we get questions sometimes. Like sometimes people DM our social media handles and they ask customer service questions. I know that happens. I know we actually had a viral TikTok video last year that had like a million views, and like I specifically know a couple sales that we got from that specifically. So it could happen, but that took like $1 million, not $1 million, 1 million views viral video for that to happen. So I've always kind of been like, where do I put my focus at? Like, do I spend time on the social media, the creative content, being really like witty with the content and understanding our limitations? Like, I'm not really good at that stuff. I'm not really good at making dope videos and stuff. People jumping like this and outfits coming on and this going over here and this going over here. It's not my thing. Nobody on my team really does that as far as like my employees and stuff like that. So it's like, do I want to pay somebody, to do this stuff? And it's like, how do I weigh it? So that's always been my love-hate relationship with it. It's like, I can invest into that, or I can invest in some other things that I know is a known winner. So, the things that the reason I've been hesitant with social media is, at least to start a brand new business, and I'll say the cons to me that I see is that you're showing your content to the same people. Like, if you don't really have a super big following already, like Kim Kardashian status, like, you ain't even gotta be that high. I mean, if you got 100,000 followers, and then let's just say that those 100,000 followers are real. Who knows? They might be fake. But you post your picture and you only got 10 likes and you got 100,000 followers. I'm just saying. But so you're showing your content theoretically to the same people. So let's say you launched your business, whatever the case may be, and you make a post, oh, check out my, what's it called, XYZ. Your friends and family, people gonna be like, okay, great, double tag, I like that, whatever. You maybe get a couple sales, but then you post it again, you make something else. It's like to the same people. It's like, what are you really benefiting out of that? Like, what are you getting out of that? Also, another problem is like, you have no control over the algorithms. Like, you ever have them situations where you post something and like nobody sees it? Even the people that follow your page. And like, Facebook is notorious for this. Like, you never see somebody's Facebook page post. Like, who do you see? You got to specifically follow that person, subscribe to that person just to see their organic posts. Like, so you have no control over the algorithm. Like, forget trying to go viral for people that you don't know and try to get the explore page and all that type of stuff. I'm talking about just the people that follow you. Can my 500 followers get my post? Like, I want all 500 of them to see it. And it's just not like that. So that's also a problem. And then also it's like, I feel like with social media, when starting a new business, it really locks you into that friends and family stage. Like that's majority of your followers already is your friends and family. And it's like, granted, you want them to support. If anything, it'll get you all in your feelings. Like, oh, my person ain't post my thing. My person ain't did this. My person ain't buy this. Like, nobody support me. So, that's another story and probably a topic we'll cover. Cause I mean, I've been in my feelings that type of way before, but like, but yeah, I mean, but that's your network. I mean, that's what it is. So you can't really be dependent on that if you're really trying to make sales, okay? So I'm gonna talk about 5 things I worried about or I did before I touched my social media. And just to also clarify, it's not saying that we didn't try to build our social media during this time. We definitely did. We were posting on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everything. Pinterest, and I don't even know how to work a Pinterest still to this day. But like, we were trying to put stuff out. And when I say we're talking about the first year here at Perfect Tux. So when my we're is I was doing all that posting and stuff like that. But like, but yeah, so we're gonna dive into these 5 things that I did and that I focused on instead of worrying about social media. And I feel like you should follow this too to get to the 9%. Anyways, let's get it started. So number one thing is paid ads, okay? The reality is I was in e-commerce, and probably a lot of people watching this is e-commerce, so I'm speaking from e-commerce space. But when you launch a new website, you're not known. You're not ranking on Google. Nobody knows you. Nobody's heard of you. Nobody anything. I launched Perfect Tux. You Google Perfect Tux, not even my domain, perfecttux.com. Not even that showed up first on Google. Nothing shows up. Like, you do not exist in the world. So your question you have to ask yourself, like, how do people shop? Okay, how do people shop online? I personally have never bought something through Instagram or TikTok or even Facebook, like as far as like a post and clicking through it. Now, some people probably have, I don't know, but I know I don't shop that way. What do I do when I shop? I Google it, or I maybe go to Amazon or something like that. But 9 times out of 10, me personally, I Google something. And since Google is like the #1 search engine, like 98% of the market share, a whole lot of other people Google too. So you have to find out, like, where's my customers at, okay? So for me, paid ads allowed me to get into the industry, get into the market instantly and compete from day one. That's what it allowed me to do. So there's 2 types of paid ads that I personally attacked and we still use to this day. There's Facebook ads, which Facebook and Instagram, and then there's Google ads. Facebook ads, I only suggest using that when you sell something, your product or service is something that's interest-based and pretty much the interest that Facebook follows or Facebook has a category for. Facebook used to be really stalkerish. They used to be in all the business and gave us everything. Oh, I loved it during them times. But a certain election happened with a certain president, and then what was it called? Analytic somebody? I remember that. Oh no, Analytica, something like that. Let's just say they wasn't playing fair with the tools that Facebook was giving advertisers at that time. So ever since then, they've been cutting what you can see about people like so far down, it's not even funny. Like now it's like, I'm still trying to figure it out. It's a lot harder on Facebook ads than what it used to be. Like as far as getting in front of the right person, used to be able to be so specific to like somebody's like everything about a person you could put in there and put your ad like right into the right person. It used to be great. So it's still the case, but it's a little bit harder, but there's certain interest groups. And when I say is your product or service to a certain interest, for example, let's say you sell, I don't know, you sell mugs or you make pottery or something like that. But let's say you have one with a cat on it, right? So you're looking for cat enthusiasts. Like, so you can search that on Facebook ads and literally put up, interest like I love people that love cats. And so if you put an ad up with your mug with a cat on it, I wouldn't care about it. But if I love cats, I might be scrolling and be like, you know what, that's unique. I need that in my life. So you might get a cold view and might get a sell from that just based on the interest is that like lined up with what you're selling, okay? The other side of that, and which is my personal favorite, is Google ads. I like Google ads because if your product or service is really kind of search-based, like search keywords, like search term based. For example, with Perfect Tux, like tuxedo. If somebody searches that, they're looking for a tuxedo. Like that's what they want. That's what they're looking for. Versus if I did an ad on Facebook and I'm saying, oh, give me people that's recently been engaged or people that's interested in weddings. Like, I don't know if their wedding is 2 years down the line. I don't know if that's an old update from last year. You could be interested in weddings, but are you a photographer? Are you you interested in weddings because you sell dresses? Like it's way too broad for me to put an ad in front of that. But if on search terms, if you search for exactly what I'm selling, I'll put money behind that search term and want to show my product. So what I did specifically for Perfect Tux in that first year was we really attacked Google ads and more specifically Google shopping ads. So I would really put a lot of focus into paid ads, just knowing that you don't exist as a new business, and it's your way to kind of like really compete. The biggest hurdle you're going to have with all that is that it's hard to be profitable. It's very hard to be profitable because you got a lot of stuff to think about. You have like, okay, do it like this. Let's say you did a $10 ad. You paid $10 on your thing. Let's say your product costs $5 and you're selling it for I don't know, $15, right? So let's say you got that one sale and it took all that $10 to get it. So that was $10. Your acquisition cost was that $10. And maybe we'll put this on the screen to make this math make sense. But your acquisition cost was $10, right? So you just can't say, oh, I just made $15 off the $10, which still isn't really a great ROI, but for our example, we'll just say that. But did you really make $5 profit off that $10 sale? No. Like your product cost $5 to make. So you're only making $10 profit, but you made a $10 profit and it cost $10 for that customer. So what did you make? Zero. You didn't make anything. But it looks all good on the Facebook ads, or the dashboard or the Google dashboard. Like, oh, I just made $15. Oh yeah, right on. So it's a lot harder. You really got to think hard about profitability when you go the paid ads route. But it's your opportunity to get in front of customers ASAP right now. So that is a route that I would take for any new business, especially if you're selling a product and service and you're selling it online. Even if you have a brick and mortar or something like that, I still believe you should have an online presence, because even if you do Google ads, you also want to drive local traffic, or you want to drive, Google map locations and advertise there. Like, there's so much things that you could do online, even if your full thing isn't e-commerce. So paid ads is definitely the way to go. And it's the way that I did until a lot of my organic stuff started to level out with our paid ads. Okay. So number two thing to worry about besides social media is your website optimization, okay? You need to focus on your conversion potential, okay? You need to maximize your website's conversion, I don't know, just maximize it. Like, it needs to be at the point where there's nothing else, like all your focus needs to be on, if somebody comes to my website, how do I get them to add that thing to the cart, and how do I get them to check out, okay? I say this because, and honestly, this probably should have went in front of the paid ads, because you shouldn't do paid ads until your website is optimized. But, well, when I say this stuff, you want to make sure your landing page is right. You want to make sure your photos are right. You want to make sure, like, instead of spending money or content on, or spending time and money on content creation for your social media handles, use that money to have a professional photographer. If you're selling clothing, or you're selling, let's say you're selling a luxury item, your photos need to look like luxury photos. Like, you cannot skip out on that. The lighting, the everything. Like, just don't take it with your phone unless you really, really know what you're doing. But you want to make sure, like, everything about your website is for a conversion. You want to make sure that you're not, you build your website for how your customer searches your website, for how your customer navigates your website. Don't be limited by a template or whatever some out-of-box solution is. There are so much things that I did with our website that I made customization things that I had to pay for, but that for shopping for formal wear and shopping for my industry, these were hurdles that I saw that prevented them from making the sale on their own. There were certain hurdles that, required them to contact us, and these frequent asked questions that we could easily solve ourselves if we had the add the cart button a different way, or our drop down menu said something different. And I never be limited by a template. I'll go to upwork.com, I'll go to anything, I find a developer, whatever I have to do to find a custom solution for my customer to convert at a high rate is what I'm going to do. Also, another very important tip that a lot of people forget when working on websites is you always optimize for mobile first. Always, okay? 80-something% of the traffic is all on mobile devices now. Like, I think 10% is like tablets, and the other 10% is like desktop now. And it's like getting worse and worse by the day. The reason why, that makes common sense, right? But the reason why a lot of people don't really focus on the mobile first is because most people build websites on a desktop computer, on the laptop. It's too hard to build a website on your phone, to really see what's going on. So a lot of people do it on the desktop. So when you're doing it on the desktop, you're it looks great. You got these big old, images and everything going on, and you just completely forget how it looks like on a phone. Like, you have this much space on a desktop, on a regular web browser, and on your phone, it's this much space. Like, things get consolidated, menus get hidden, you have to scroll more to get to add to cart, or whatever the case may be. You need to make sure that you are looking at your website for mobile experience first, okay? So again, that comes with customization maybe, that comes with picking the right template, that comes with whatever it is for what you sell and what you need to do. You need to think this stuff very clear for your customer psychology of e-commerce and converting at an optimal point for your website, okay? So it's very important, because even if you had a social media following and you got all these people coming to your website, if your website isn't converting at a high rate, you'll still be thinking it's something else. When you're from a foundational standpoint, you're not ready, okay? So make sure your website is optimized. Make sure everything about that shopping experience is optimized, and that you really want to just make sure you lower the hurdles and the barriers to completing a sale. All right. The number three thing I worried about before I worried about our social media following, I worried about retargeting ads. This kind of goes in hand with number one with paid ads, because retargeting ads is a paid ad, but I really wanted to separate this because it was a real strategy of mine during that first year. The most intent buyer is somebody that's visited your website before, okay? And more specifically, maybe somebody that's visited your website and was on it for a minute. You know, some people come on their website, they look for a second, and they bounce right out. And they're on your website for like 3 seconds. Those aren't always the greatest things, but with retargeting ads, you can specify, okay, people that's been on my website for longer than 30 seconds, people that's been on my website for longer than a minute, people that's been in my website 2 times, have been in my website 3 times. Those are the people you want to, like, whether it's Google ads, Facebook ads, any type of ads, I don't even care what they is, like TikTok ads, anything. For retargeting ones, those are always the greatest type of ads, because like I said, the customer already has some intent or some type of familiarity with your product, with your service, whatever you're selling. So you really want to target those, and those are the type of ads that really have the highest conversion rates, has the lowest cost per acquisition. Like those are the ones that's just like, those are golden. A key thing that I'll say here, that even before you're ready to do ads and do retargeting ads, maybe you're working on optimizing your website like I just mentioned, you definitely want to install on your website your Facebook pixel, or they call it a meta pixel now, your Google tracking codes, all type of tracking codes. Every single social media site, Twitter, X, or whatever, they have tracking codes. There's so many, pretty much every social media, anything that's ads driven has tracking codes that you can put on your website. Put those on your website ASAP, because with Facebook, for example, you can go as far as back as, I think it's used to be a year, but I think it's about 190 days or something like that. So even if you started today and you just started doing your ads, you can still say, oh, everybody that visited my website for the past 30 days, I want to do a target to them. But if you just put your pixel on today and you just started today, obviously there's no previous data for people that visit your website. So that's definitely a tidbit there, to like install pixels and all the tracking codes as soon as possible when you have a website. But yes, retargeting ads is those ads that when people come to your website, they go onto their social media accounts, or they go browsing the web and they see an ad from your website. For a long time, people used to think their phone was listening to them, and they're like, oh my gosh, I just thought about a red tuxedo, and now I'm seeing all these red tuxedo ads. Oh my goodness. But they forget that they Googled red tuxedos, and they might have went to my website, and now they're seeing these ads for months on end. So, it's not that your phone is listening to you, but it might be. Who knows? Maybe. But retargeting ads work, and I'm that stalker that has a cookie on your computer or your device that's retargeting you. So it's me. It's not the man. But so that's why retargeting ads are great, though, because like I said, they convert at a high rate. It's something I focused on. It's something we still focus on, and they just really help, and they really help drive sales. So focus on retargeting ads, okay? Number four, SEO Foundation. Now, what is SEO? That is search engine optimization. And when I say foundation, I'm not expecting everybody to be an expert of SEO. Matter of fact, it's very confusing. It's hard. You might pay somebody to do it, do something. You're like, I don't know what they're doing. But from a basic standpoint, remember I told you when I first started Perfect Tux, you can Google Perfect Tux and nothing would come up with Perfect Tux. We wasn't ranking organically. And when I say organically, organic means that it's not a paid ad. And it's actually hard to find organic posts like on Google now, because it's so full of ads. But That's why I say paid ads was number one, because you have to pay the game to play the game, and it just is what it is. But there is a lot of opportunity for organic posts. But the fact of the matter is you want to be on the first page of Google. And how do you do that? And that's what SEO is. So instead of focusing on your social media or really, breaking your brain about what kind of content you create, break your brain on, okay, is my meta tags right? Is my titles of my pages right? Is my descriptions of my pages right? What kind of keywords work with what I'm selling, my product or services? Let's say you're doing baby bibs. You want to say, okay, I want to make sure on my baby bib page that one, baby bib is in the title. You want to say, maybe they call it I don't know what's another word for a bib, but maybe they call it baby supplies or baby accessories or whatever the case may be. All these keywords that people naturally search. And if you can't think of a keyword that people search, let me give you a quick hack real quick. Go to Google. Matter of fact, do it in incognito mode or private mode and just start typing baby bibs and see what the suggestions are. Those suggestions right there are like the top keywords for Google. Like, make sure those are included. If we go a little deeper, another little hack for you. If you open a Google Ads account, they have a keyword planner that help you come up with keywords. Also, you can go to googletrends.com and things like that. So there's ways to get that, but like the keywords needs to be on your webpage. What else needs to be on there? Like everything from what your URL has, and just all type of things. Like, there's backlinks and all type of stuff it could be a whole subject. But the whole matter is just on the basic stuff. There's so many people's websites that I go to where they don't got the basics right. And the basics is literally the title and the description of the page. You will be surprised on how changing those things. And I will probably include alt images. Like if you ever, if you're on Shopify or whatever, and you put an image on, there's a spot where it says like alt image. And it's pretty much you give a text description of what the image is. That stuff is read by these bots and these crawlers that go to these websites, and that's how they rank websites and whatever the algorithms are. But there's just certain strategies of things that you can do that you make sure your website is great. You want to make sure your website is also like the site map, the way it's structured, is in a SEO friendly way. I know it might sound redundant to have for example, I have a suits page and I have a wedding suits page. Do I have a wedding suits page because the wedding suits page is different from the suits page and there's different products? No, it's because some people search for suits and some people search for wedding suits. Like whatever it is, if I'm selling Jordans, I might have a page for Jordans. I might have a page for Nikes. I might have a page for Adidas. Like, you have to be specific to what, don't just say shoes. You know what I'm saying? So that's how you be really strategic about all that stuff falls in SEO. So you want to focus on that stuff and make sure all that stuff is great before you spend time driving yourself crazy about social media, okay? And let me get a drink because my throat is parched. That's a lot of information I'm giving. But number 5, okay, the last thing I cared about before I cared about social media, and the thing I think you should care about besides social media, depending on what you're selling, depending on your industry, is get off the internet. Get off of it. There's a whole world that exists not on social media. If you have a product that can really be, sample based, like, okay, you sell cupcakes or you sell makeup or you sell some type of hair product, skin product or whatever, or perfume or whatever the case may be. Those are things that's really good at giving samples and really getting out there. Go to your farmer's market. Really, do you have that guerrilla marketing in you? Do you have just that full-blown hustle? Or are you just only comfortable in your bedroom, on your phone, posting on your social media account? That's hustling to you. If that's hustling for you, that ain't the 9% club. I'm sorry. Go to the next channel. But we are here to grind and hustle. If it takes for you to go to that farmer's market, go there, sample your product, get it out there. The money you might have spent on Google ads or Facebook ads could be your free free samples that you give out. The money you might have spent, maybe you're like in my shoes, I might pay somebody to create some content for me for my social media. That's money that can go out to your samples. And then you get somebody around there, then you get a list together and you make sure, you collect emails, you collect text, people's phone numbers. Just really, and let alone all the businesses in this world that is not e-commerce, franchises, mom and pop shops, all type of stuff that is not super driven with social media. And I'm not saying that, like I said at the beginning, it does make sense to have a social media presence, but from a new business standpoint, you need to get out there and go get it for however your industry is set up and for whatever you're selling. Give yourself the best opportunity. There's too many times I've seen people launch a product, specifically hair, beauty, just something that takes more, like something that smells, they gotta touch and feel it. And they just skip out on the fact of like, you don't have that brand authority to make somebody wanna buy something by just looking at a nice bottle. Granted, it is a nice bottle. It might be a nice photo, but I don't know how it's gonna feel on my skin. I don't know how it's gonna feel in my hair. It might make my hair fall out. I don't know. So go to the barbershops, get your stuff in the beauty shops, get your product in there, get your product in, anywhere. You have to like get on your hustle and be about your grind. So those are the top 5 things there. Okay. I hope these things hit home, but like literally these top 5 things, we had over 2,000 sales in our first year in business. So we gonna end it there. I hope y'all enjoyed this one. Please like and subscribe of our channel. Please post in the comments of topics you would like me to cover. Any questions, I promise you I will answer them. Continue to just support the channel. We really appreciate it. Until next time, I'll catch you on the 9% Club. You hear me? Peace.